Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey everybody, welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I am Mike the Podfather Miles.
I'm Jersey Ed.
And we're here with our good friend, extraordinaire.
Everybody's extraordinaire. Everybody's extraordinary.
Chris Cudahy, who just flew in from New York.
Good morning.
What is? Are your arms tired?
I used that line last time.
How's everybody doing? How you doing,
What about
Ed?
sweets? Let's forget it. We're not forgetting
We'll
about
get to
sweets.
sweets.
Sweets, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Can't you tell?
I can tell.
I'm
You
like
look great.
Shiny neon suit today.
the patent leather platforms.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it goes well with the zoot suit.
Absolutely.
Yep. Capri pants.
Absolutely.
Lime green.
Absolutely.
Lime green.
Lime
Yeah, that
green.
is it's lime. That's
Very,
right.
very shiny.
St. Patty's
Absolutely.
Days, you know, it's
Around the
it's
corner.
That's
coming
what
around.
it is.
Coming
Yep,
around.
That's
So
what it is.
And all our law enforcement can pick you out from a crowd.
absolutely.
If there's anything going
We
on.
never had a problem doing that before. He doesn't need a
That
suit.
is true.
I am a noticeable character.
You are.
No matter what he was wearing.
Well, if you have any comments on his suit,
Yeah.
we have a new voicemail. What you want to tell us? What
No,
what
you
we're
tell us
talking?
about the
Okay.
voicemail.
So the voicemail, we just set it up, guys. So for all our law enforcement and our first responders, you can leave a detailed message on a voicemail now. So if you have any concerns, questions, or whatever,
Suggestions, anything, input.
yeah.
What's the number, Ed?
Just leave the number 617-379-1163. That's 617-379-1163. 24 hours a day, you can leave a message. Up to about 5 minutes, you can leave the message, and we'll play it on the air. Just to let you know that it will be played on the air, possibly.
That's right.
And talk about it. And this is a good way for us to connect with our fans.
I wasn't listening. What's that number again?
So it's 617.
Get Mike. Get Podfather.
617-379-1163.
1163.
1163.
Okay.
And the reason I like 1163 is my badge number for 35 years was 163.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you're out there and you're feeling lucky, I'd play those three numbers.
There you go.
I'm going to do it tonight.
There you go. And we don't get badges anymore, guys. We want some not badges. We want some patches again.
Right.
Like start sending them in. Call us on that number and leave some information. We can get a hold of you so we can call
Absolutely.
you guys up and tell you where to send it. Or I can give Sweet's home address out and you can just stop by
Well,
his
let's
house
start
and
with the
drop
phone
it
number
off.
and see what happens.
You want to go from there?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, we'll work our way backward to that.
Well, Chris is only a special a guest every once in a while. Let's give his number out.
And my address. It's no problem.
Sweets lives in a gated community. I don't think people will be delivering patches.
That
here.
is true. Yes, it's highly
Yeah.
secure.
All my mail
here.
gets searched here.
That is.
It's almost like you're in jail.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
The razor wire is a little bit
That's
of a
right.
problem, but that's okay.
Hey, real quick, I want to say hello to Brian Casey. Remember this, guys? I think you guys.
Good cop, good
Good
cop.
cop, good cop. I did his show a while ago, and it just aired a couple weeks. Well, when this show comes out, it'll be a couple weeks ago. His podcast is called Cop Think, and me and another officer from Minneapolis who's in recovery had a really cool talk with Brian, and you can find that at Cop Think Podcast, and it's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and also if you go to Good Cop website, there's a section that says podcast. Click on that and you can get it right from there, and there I am. See you guys?
Yeah,
See
there he
me
is.
right there. You guys can't see it, but it's episode 12, my part in recovery with Eric Hagel and Ed Chancio.
Do you want me to show the viewers?
Yeah, you can show them. Yeah,
So I'll put it up right now.
there you go. Right now
Now.
again.
Okay, all
all right.
When?
Flash it.
When?
No, right
Yeah.
now.
Now. It'll
we
be
don't
flashing.
wanna
Now
fi-
or
We don't want to
No,
forget.
before.
before?
yeah,
Not now.
before.
Not now.
Yes.
Not, it's over now.
Spaceballs?
It's over
It's
now.
done. We're done.
Spaceballs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to
Okay.
forget answering the call. That's our podcast, and we're here today
Yes.
to talk about our podcast,
Yes.
Answering the Call.
What are we going to talk about today, Mike?
And, Answering the Call is the First Responders podcast. Today we're going to talk about the media and first responders. I'd say police more than corrections or fire or EMS. But I think it really fits the bill when you talk about police officers in the media. You know, you see a police officer, which we see seems like it's daily, getting shot in the line of duty, and the media's all over it, and they cover it as best they can, and I think they get some type of high ratings when they talk about cops being shot and the funerals, and usually when a cop's shot in the line of duty, I've been to a lot of police funerals over the years, and people come from all over. They come from other countries. They come from Canada sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be 1,000 police officers, at a cop's funeral wake. They don't even know the officer, but it's like a brotherhood. And the media loves it. They love to cover it,
Mm-hmm.
And then the other side of the coin is when a cop gets in trouble, does something wrong, something human, the media covers that as well very extensively, more so than you probably see an electrician or a carpenter. If they all get charged with the same crime, the cop's going to get the brunt end of the media coverage.
Yeah, but let's be serious. Negative stories sell ads, and that's how the media works. And if you put a cop up there that walks some elderly woman across the road, it's not gonna sell too many stories. You know what I mean? But the funerals, and look at Katie, our friend Joe Barrios, his wife Katie Barrios, who
Sure.
died of cancer last year.
Sure.
Police officers came from all
Philadelphia
over the
Police
country.
Department.
Yep. Philadelphia, everybody. They came from all over the country. Well, she ended up back in Wisconsin with her family.
Okay.
But everywhere it was covered by the news. If you Google Katie Barrios, you'll see it all.
Right.
Right. And Mike, you and Jeff kind of came to one of her
Fundraising
fundraisers.
events.
Yeah,
Sure,
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. But that's what this community does. They get together. The first responders community get together and pull together
Right.
when something's
Right.
asked of them. They go above and beyond
Right.
for
and
their
I,
own.
And I agree, and I've seen it. 35 years, I lived it. But I had 5 friends die in a plane crash. 5 Lowell police officers die in one false swoop coming home from a hunting trip. Horrific. 2 of them were very close friends. And unfortunately, that was a very dark time, 1996. Very dark time for a lot of people, especially for the Lowell, Massachusetts Police Department. But I've also seen police officers who've had just natural, an argument with their wife. The police show up, they live in a different town, and next thing you know, reporters are knocking on their door. They want to do a full page story on a domestic because the individual was a cop. And whether it's fair or not, it's factual. And to me, it's just it can create more havoc, I think, than people realize what it can do to the officer himself or herself and the family members. What's your opinion on that, Jersey Ed or Chris?
Well, don't you think, my question would be here is that police officers are always held to a higher standard, right? So they're expected to be perfect human beings, and we know that they're just human beings. I think that's the key to it.
A mirror image of society, I'd say.
Yeah, and also that as a society, we love to build people up.
Right.
So we have an injured or a dead officer. We're able to get out there. We're able to hold the parade. We're able to wave the flag. We're able to do all of that stuff. And then we're able to tear them down because it keeps the story moving.
Yeah.
So that if there's a domestic situation in any other labor position coming from a position of labor, you're right. We are held to a different standard, because we're just, maybe we're just a construction worker or we're just a custodian or whatever it is. But our society looks at police officers and we put them up on that pedestal. And when they fall, we love to kick them while they're down.
Yeah. But that's society, though. I don't care if you're a police officer. Everybody loves to kick somebody when they're down, unfortunately. And I guess because, like you said, their Podfather is that, because they're held to a higher standard or because they're law enforcement, they should be somebody different. But you push all that away, they're still a human being.
Right.
You're a human being. I've known you for 10 years. I don't even look at you as a cop. I look at you as just a human being. And all the cops that I deal with as far as coming to Genesis House and getting into treatment, I look at them as a human being. Obviously, they have different issues and different, different things that they have to deal with. but you have to push it away and make sure that we deal with the human being, you know?
Right.
And that's where these stories come in, and it hurts that human being.
Right.
It's not hurting the cop. It's not hurting the police department. It's not hurting the fire department. It's hurting that cop, that human being that's behind the badge.
Right. And, you know, just the variables that you can put together for when you look at any profession, but the highest rate of suicide in any profession is correctional officers.
Yeah.
It used to be police officers. They're number 2 now, but it used to be police officers. Now it's correctional officers. So a correctional officer gets in trouble. He beats an inmate, or he slaps an inmate, or he brings drugs into jail. Or, I mean, obviously he's in the wrong profession if he's going to be doing, you know, bringing drugs into jail, what something along those lines. But in the commission of his job, he might interact with an inmate, and it just happened recently in Massachusetts where several inmates set upon a correctional officer. They broke his cheekbone, his nose, fractured 3 ribs, and somehow the media got a hold of this film, and it's a horrific beating, horrific. And you know, this guy, excuse me, the officer is still out of work. He's been out of work 5 months now, and I think it's along the lines of the media. They feed off of this. They get this and they love it. But there are people out there that are watching this that probably have sympathy for the inmate himself, you know, because in the commission of what he was doing, other officers came to this correctional officer's aid, and they, you know, pulled off I'll call him the bad guy, and you know, they smacked him around. And you know, of course, people are concerned about that because they have the video. They actually have the video.
Sweets, what's your Chris? What's your opinion about that? Because you were on the other side. You were in the wall. You know, on the other side of the wall, 24/7.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows that. Oop, shit! Did I break?
Thank you for peeling off that Band-Aid.
There was
Rip
no
it
feeling
right
there,
out,
buddy.
right
You
out.
ripped it right off.
7 years of therapy right out the fucking window.
Right. And he wasn't allowed to wear his platform shoes either.
Well,
No, flip-flops.
He just went from 6'4" to 5'4", just like that.
Right,
overnight.
that's right. Well, we're not going to tell everybody your real name is Bob Smith. I mean,
of course not.
Jesus.
Of
I mean, Sweets.
Yeah.
No, but you being on that side, what's your take on that? Like, how does that culture work? When Mike just said, are they the bad guy, or was that a good thing behind the wall for beating the shit out of a fucking correctional officer?
You know, it's so I feel 2 different things. I mean, obviously, the first I feel at the time when I was behind the wall.
Doing research.
Doing research, R&D behind the wall. It was, you know, I don't want to say it was a good thing. I mean, it was a status thing. You know, it was a you know, there was a sense of pride for squaring up with somebody that's wearing, you know, boots, and you're wearing shower shoes, you know, or you go in the cell with somebody and you square up. It was a matter of respect. I don't know if it was like, you know, you got props for beating up a cop.
Okay.
I think it was just that you were willing to stand up for yourself, or you know, you were willing to square up with somebody. I think it was more about that. But you know,
So it gave you status in that community, basically.
Not to go after a defenseless CO or corrections officer, but more so to square up with one. Like
Right.
If one was to.
If one was being a punk and in your face.
Correct,
and
yeah.
being a prick and
Yeah, that
busting
was
your
different.
balls.
That was one thing. But I think, you know, the cowards that went
Right.
after, you know, these cops and,
Right,
you know,
right.
stabbed somebody and broke their jaw or
Perfect.
whatever, like that's a completely different
Right,
scenario. You know, and we would look at them as probably shitbags.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Because
they're
now they
cowards.
fucked up your whole thing in...
Yeah.
Well, because listen, we live there. You know what I mean? When we're behind the wall, we live there. That's our house.
That's
That's
your
our
house.
home,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so when somebody shuts the block down, like all right, this is life in there, right? You get canteen twice a week. You get your newspapers and magazines delivered to you. You get your mail. You get your phone calls. You get your showers. You get your rec time. That's life, right? That's life behind the wall.
That's the good
And
stuff.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's how we survive every day.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you fuck around and you punch a CO, guess what happens?
It all goes away.
Life changes.
Yeah.
Life changes for everybody,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so now on a block with 120 people, you know, 60 people out at a time, the whole block out at a time, when somebody does something like that, everyone gets punished. So
Nah.
whether you were out on the unit, swinging, hitting, whatever, the whole unit gets shut down.
Right.
Canteen gets shut down. You know what I mean? No more rec time. You get showers once every 72 hours. You can call your lawyer, not your family. Like, you get the minimum. And that's not, you know, that's not to say they're unjust. That's just to say that's what happens.
That's what happens.
So we as a collective unit get pretty pissed off.
Okay.
Well said.
So
Well
that's
said.
not that's not accepted in the
Right.
prison system. What happened?
Not if you're just going to be an
Podfather's
asshole and
doing.
shut the block down
Got
for
it.
nothing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you want to go square up in a cell because it's a matter of respect or pride or something like that,
Cool.
Hey,
rock on.
I worked in the prison system in the 70s when I got out of the Army. And I can tell you, I've seen correctional officers and inmates walk into a cell, go face to face, throw punches, and, nobody said a word. There was no lawyers involved. Nobody was being sued. Whoever won the fight, whoever had the upper hand, that was it. Nobody jumped in. And I remember one correctional officer, and he's still around. He's a great guy. And we'll call him Joe. And Joe said, hey, come down here. I want you to see this. He was taking off his shirt, and he threw it to me. And I was brand new. I'd been there 3 or 4 weeks. And he went in the cell, and he put his hands up in a boxing style, and the inmate put his hands up, and they went at it. And the inmate got the best of him, and he gave him a couple good punches. Joe ended up hitting the bench, and that was it. The fight was over.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out, put his shirt back on, and there was nothing said about it. But from that day going forward, that CO had a lot of respect from the inmates because he didn't pursue it any further. And I call him convict, but anyway, the inmate got a lot of respect from the COs because he didn't complain about it, even though he actually won the fight.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to give it our we want to hear what you guys are thinking about this. You can call the hotline and leave a voicemail at 617-379 617. I don't know what to call it. It's a phone number, voicemail, hotline. Call the fucking number, somebody, and leave a goddamn message.
Gold Jersey Ed.
617-379-1163, and make sure that you leave a detailed message of some of your thoughts that we've just been sharing about.
What's that number again?
617-379-1163.
I like it better when you both say it at the same
Yeah,
time.
okay, 1, 2, 3, go. 617-379-1163.
Oh my God.
We'll be back answering the call.
All right.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. The First Responder Recovery Program at Genesis House is led by a doctorate-level therapist with direct professional experience as a first responder himself. Treatment modalities focus on psychiatric care, relapse prevention, stress management, and trauma-informed care for PTSD. Learn why their individualized approach makes a difference for first responders. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Answering the call, the First Responders Podcast. I am Mike, the Podfather Miles.
And I'm Jersey Ed.
And we're here with Chris Cudahy.
Yes.
That's quite the Irish name, isn't it?
It
Yes.
certainly is.
Ah, laddie,
that
he's
was
a
the
good
intention.
sport.
Yes,
Yeah.
all the way from Long Island.
All the way
nice.
from Long Island.
Real quick, I want to give our Jersey Ed podcast pick of the week, guys.
We have a drum roll in that? Or?
We have. What do we got? A drum roll?
There
you go.
All right.
Thank you. Give us another one. There you go. Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week is Panic Attacks. This was for you there, Podfather. Panic Attack Podcast. Host is Matthew. Is a collaboration of former sufferers helping people with panic attacks, stress, anxiety, depression, and ADHD. They share what has been proven to work amongst their community. And it's actually a good podcast. I get panic attacks every once in a while, and I do enjoy it. You can go to their website, panicattackrecovery.com, and I encourage you to check it out. And also,
I will be.
yes, leave us a message on 617-379-1163.
And what
let
is
me
that?
know
Is that
either-
was that number again?
Oh, it's the
hotline?
hotline, the hotline,
Okay, yeah.
the bat line, the cop line.
What's the number again?
617-379-1163.
I'll be singing that in my sleep tonight.
That's Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week.
That's very good.
Back
Hey,
to you in the newsroom there.
Thank you
Podfather.
very much. And, panic attacks. I was sober 14 months, and I had a panic attack while I was in a shower. And I got to tell you, I was petrified. I went to the hospital. I thought I was dying. I'm 32 years old, 33 years old. I go in, they do my vitals, and they said, you're fine. And I said, fuck you. I left there, and I went to another hospital because I couldn't believe they told me I was fine. And that was the beginning of about a little under 3 years of nightmarish podcast.
This is a nightmare podcast, so
panic attacks. But if you're out there listening, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This is how I can equate people to how I felt when I had a panic attack. I felt like I was in the middle of a body of water where I couldn't see any land. I'm treading water. I don't know which way to swim. I know I can only tread water so long, so I think I'm going to drown. And I don't know which way to go. And that's how it was with a panic attack. I couldn't drive. I couldn't go shopping. I couldn't sleep. It was awful. And I have methods. I'm a clinical social worker now. I work with people for the last 20 years, and that's my specialty is working with people that do have panic and anxiety attacks, because I'll tell you, it's a scary place to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrifying.
So that's a good podcast. Listen to that, and give us your thoughts on that at 617-379-1163.
That's 617-379-1163.
I don't have the number in front of
That's
me.
okay.
So
You know it now.
That's it. You know it. Everybody knows it out there. So pick up the phone and leave a message. So we were talking about, speaking of panic attacks, I can imagine panic attacks you probably have in prison. And Mike, you being on Podfather, you being on the streets.
Yep.
And, just kind of, and you too, Chris, when Trump was fucking elected, what kind of panic attack did you have?
What do you mean, what kind? It hasn't stopped.
No, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't. We don't.
You know what, though?
I had to throw that in there. Sorry, guys.
I think, again, I push the fact that coming from a labor background, that everybody has a level of PTSD. Everybody has that level of panic attack, anxiety attack. I mean, whatever you want to call it. I remember at the age of 13, I'm in school. I get they call the doctor. They bring the doctor, and he goes, he's suffering from nervous exhaustion.
Yeah.
So that's what they called it back then.
Yeah. Really?
13 years old, not knowing, and going through up until my mid-40s, having no idea. Meeting now with members of labor, and we go back. This segues us back into corrections officers. How many of our corrections officers suffer from these disabilities but do not talk about it because they're terrified that they're either going to be made fun of or they're going to be vilified by somebody, or if the inmates get hold of this and say, Officer A is scared of this. Right. What can we do with him to fuck up his day? Because there's nothing better than fucking with. You don't need to punch him in the face.
No.
Mess with their psyche.
Their fucking mind,
And just, this is again on the side of, I know that Suffolk County, New York, having to deal, our corrections officers coming in at the age of 20, 21, 22, being paid $30,000 a year.
Right.
So what are we saying about the respect to our police officers? Look, I realize that Suffolk County, New York, we have some of the highest paid police officers in the country. But the fact is that our corrections officers are treated as I believe, second-class citizens when it comes to payroll.
It's a hard job.
It is a really hard job. They're not given the respect that they're due. They need, we need as people to understand that they're looking after a lot of bad guys. We know that there's a lot of decent people in there that have just made a few mistakes.
Absolutely.
But the fact is that they've got to be psychologists. They've got to be doctors. They've got to be all of those things. And then when one of them screws up, because let's face it, out of all three of us here, we've all screwed up.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Four.
Sorry, Sweet.
Sweet's is biggest fuck up here.
Just ask Ed. He'll tell you all about it.
No, let me tell you, Sweet just got caught.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I love that you guys keep pointing that out as my defining characteristic.
I wasn't going to go in there. Because I've met you all of twice, and you would not be what I'd say as a general.
Sweet's home address and personal phone number will be on the show notes.
I just think that when you see a corrections officer, because we don't see them, they're not prevalent in the street.
Right.
They go to work. They go through the turmoil of work, whether it's the tedium of sitting there and watching a monitor all day long, or trying to keep guys from biting each other and rubbing feces on the wall or whatever it is.
So true.
Yeah.
These guys leave, and what do they have?
Yeah.
And then what support do they get?
On top of all that, what you're talking about, and brings us back to our original topic, and we'll throw it out there, is the media. Can you imagine the fucking anxiety that you have after you get put into the newspaper or whatever happens, especially in the first responders world, and it's horrible. And I think Mike or Podfather, you made the newspaper when early on in your career when you became got into recovery.
Yeah, when I started my sobriety, they every article they ever wrote about me, no matter what, I got Police Officer of the Year, which was a pretty prestigious award back in 1985. I saved a woman's life, and that was the last time an article was written about me and I was very active with drugs and alcohol back then, but nobody knew about it. That they didn't mention that Mike Miles, police officer who was recovering from alcohol and cocaine addiction, and they did that up until my retirement. When I retired at the age of 61 years old, they front page Lowell Sun picture. That's the newspaper. Wonderful picture, all about what a great guy Mike Miles, helps lots of people, went the extra mile to help people. However, at the very end of the article, and Mike was a recovering alcoholic, drug addict, let's kick him some more. And I said to my family and people that care about me, I guarantee you when I die, they're going to write a nice article about all the people I helped in my career and that I was a recovering alcoholic drug addict scumbag,
They're going to punctuate it with the bad thing you did.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
But what Chris was just saying about, I was the EAP for the Lowell Police Department, which was a 250 man and woman department, and I was also the EAP for the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department for 3.5 years. And I've sat with correctional officers and police officers and family members that have all kinds of, maladies, issues. But more importantly, nowadays, I can see the change. There is finally change. We have chiefs of police. We have sheriffs that go the extra mile for their officers. They see the high rate of suicide, and they want to help them. They at least offer. They offer some type of counseling. They offer some type of, venue to go sit and talk about it and get it out. Even if the officers don't want to do it. If somebody hangs themselves in jail, 3 officers find an inmate that's hung himself. Now, somebody's going to be in trouble because that inmate somehow figured a way to hang himself. Jeffrey Epstein would be a good example. They find out the officers were playing cards, whatever they were doing. But their whole careers have just changed. Their lives have changed forever. Mm-hmm. Even if they get their jobs back, they're never going to be the same. They're going to be remembered for that one particular incident.
Yeah.
But don't you think also there's a level of,
responsibility? 100%.
But how
100%.
they feel emotionally about
100%.
it. That
right.
You're not there to watch an inmate die. You're not.
Right.
No.
You're there.
Correct.
All the corrections officers I work with, they're all genuinely decent human beings.
Mm-hmm.
They admit that there's a few screw ups in there, but if they all work together,
Right.
they can make it that much better a group.
Yeah, but this goes back to them being human beings again.
Right.
We forget we're fucking human beings behind those badges and those boots and those guns and those helmets. They're human beings, and we have to, we make mistakes once in a while, and unfortunately, people might die in that situation, like Jeffrey Epstein. But it's sad, but they're human beings, and we forget about
Well,
that. I know
people,
Sweets is smiling back there. I know he has something that he wants to say.
Look, how many people can have piss or feces thrown at them and their
Day after
families
day.
threatened and day after day and just remarks made. And I realize that isn't a general sort of thing, but
Right.
you get 1 or 2 bad actors in there.
Right.
How does that structure your day? I got cut off on the way here coming from Long Island this morning, and all I wanted to do was run that car off the road.
Of course you did.
She slammed the brakes on in front of me, and I let it ruin a really, really good morning. I had a good time. I was having a great trip. What do I feel like when somebody reaches through a bar and just says something or does something, and I'm making $35,000 a year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So,
Well, as Dr. James Reese, and this is important, Dr. James Reese, R as in Robert, E-E-S-E, Dr. James Reese, he was the FBI profiler, one of the very first FBI profilers. Dr. Reese is no longer with us, but Dr. James Reese wrote an article called Policing a Violent Society, and it's for cops and correctional officers. Please read that article. You can Google it. And what he says in that article is, we are just a mirror image of society. No more, no less. You know what? This they used to call, when I first became a cop, I remember old people saying, so you're one of Lowell's finest. I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, Lowell's finest? What the hell are they talking about, But that's the label they put on people, police officers, correctional officers, like you're supposed to be above everybody else. You'd have a very responsible job, but unfortunately, that's just a label. In reality, we're just a mirror image of society. Dr. James Reese, Policing a Violent Society. Great article to read if you're a correctional officer, police officer.
I'll just say just quickly,
Sure.
on the labor side, the one thing that you guys have, that law enforcement has, first responders have, corrections, is that you have a great backup system within your own group.
Yes.
In other words, something happens to a CO, the CO's coalesce around that CO and they look after them. Somebody dies, they look after them.
Right.
Unfortunately, in my section, in the labor department, working with blue collar, somebody passes away, somebody's family member dies, nobody hears about it.
Right.
And
Good point.
and
Good point.
that's a big argument on my side for
Right.
EAPs and MAPs, putting that together to be
Right.
able to have labor say, hey, wait a minute, X's wife just died.
Right.
We need to show up. When you go to a police funeral, there's every cop there, and you know damn well that the same with corrections officers. When they say we'll look after you, you'll be okay, they get looked after.
I've been part
That's
of
a
it.
big deal.
Absolutely.
And that to me is what the only thing that must keep you guys
Great
together.
point. Great point. The brotherhood, sisterhood.
Yeah.
It is there. It was different years ago. It was a little more cohesive than it is now because there was less scrutiny, I guess, less coverage. These cell phones, this will do you in. And I don't care what you do. If you're working in society, when you're out in the street,
Yep.
not so much in the prison. You can't have a cell phone, but everything's
They
being
have 'em.
videotaped. Yep. Oh, they have them.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Sweets, did you have something you want to add?
Well, just about the media consumption. You know what I mean? You guys are talking about how the media is so quick to jump in and point out the flaws, right? And I think that has a lot to do with what people want to see. You know what I mean? That's we have the media, like you said, the police are a reflection of the community they serve, right? And the media is a reflection of the community they serve as well, right?
point.
And so what people want to see, they want to see people fall down. They want to see people break down. They want to see, that there's corruption. They want to see that there's problems. They want to believe that stuff.
Right.
And
Good
so
point.
it's fed to them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fed to us.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily see it as incorrect because we do need to know what's going on. But media used to be about pointing out everything. Now it's just highlighting what's
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, when's the last time somebody wrote an article about you of all your interventions, all the people you helped, all the?
Yep.
I guess if you Google Sweets, that's not going to come up.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, if you Google Sweets, a lot of other things are
It's
come up.
funny. I actually I spent
will come up.
I spent about 45 minutes on my phone last night trying to find my mugshots.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find them.
Couldn't find
Wow.
No.
I've got them all.
Oh, you do?
Podfather, do you have something to do with that?
Yeah, I don't know where they are.
Do you know somebody at Google Podfather?
I was looking. I really wanted to see them. I wanted to pull up the then and now.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't find them.
Wow.
But-
Back in the day when it was just paper, when everything was paper. In other words, when somebody would stop a guy on the street and say, "I got John Brown, Cruiser 6 to Lowell. Go ahead, to the communications room. I have John Brown. Can you see if there's a warrant on file?" So the dispatcher would get up, go over to a file cabinet under B's, look up.
Wow.
Brown, J. Brown, P. Brown. Nope, no John Brown. Okay, couldn't arrest him, even
Wow.
though you knew there was a warrant somewhere. So it was all on paper. So, sometimes people you knew, people
Yeah.
you cared about,
Yeah.
you'd find a warrant, it would disappear.
Sure.
And so it would be on file at the court, but nobody would have it in
Yeah.
hand. Unless you had it in hand, you couldn't arrest them.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that going on
Yeah,
back in the
yeah.
day.
One other thing that I just wanted to say about on the job situation is that, a police officer, first responder, CO gets in trouble, they lose their job. The first thing we want to do is take their job away. We want to take their livelihood away. We've got that society now that says you did something wrong, we're going to end everything for you. There's no redemption.
No.
Sometimes you just had a bad day.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to
Yeah.
get a timeout. Is it 30 days? I mean, we're lucky. We have unions.
Yeah.
As
So right.
as a union
So right.
member, and you with the PD,
Yeah.
we know that we have that union
Absolutely.
protection. I think
Yeah,
that's incredibly
absolutely.
important because we're so quick to judge
Too quick.
and say that sucker
quick, right.
needs to lose his job because he
That's a
beat
great
subject
point,
A.
Chris.
Yeah.
No. We need to find out.
Great
We need
point.
to know what it was about.
Fix the
because-
mistake
yeah,
and move on.
Right.
that's that person's livelihood.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
their family's
Yeah.
livelihood.
And they made one little mistake. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And we are what we do. We
Yeah,
are, no
absolutely.
matter what we say. I mean, Sweet is this amazing disco dancer and pole dancer.
Zoot
You
suit.
know,
Convict.
so-
Pole dance convict.
I was taking away the convict. I was trying to. But I am proud of every single corrections officer, police officer, and first responder I
Yeah,
have ever
certainly
met,
are.
Amen.
good or bad.
You
Yep.
sounded. Hey,
Absolutely.
yeah, did you want to say thank you to anybody today? Before we end this
Thank you.
wonderful show?
I want to thank Taylor and everybody down at Genesis House. And thank good God. He lets us go another day. Thanks, Taylor. Thanks, Genesis House and our first responders program down at Genesis House. Phil Ballone. Look for him in an upcoming show. We're going to interview him. I believe he's one of our best viewed guest on
Phil's a man.
Yeah, Phil's good. So we're gonna go upcoming. Just watch for him. And I do want to say one thing. Please call her hotline.
What's the number?
617-379-1163. Remember that number.
Right.
Leave us a
That's
message.
the hotline.
And what
Answering
question,
the call.
What question can we leave for everybody
Hotline.
to answer on
Right.
there?
If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please call that number.
That's absolutely. And a question? You got a question? What suit do you want Sweets to wear next week? Okay.
Yeah.
The question is, what suit do you want Sweets to wear next week?
I'm in.
All right.
Yeah.
So leave a message 617-379-1163, and I think there should be a badge on that suit next week.
Right, a badge.
I
and,
agree.
I like that little short set you wear with the little vest and the suspenders.
Yeah, I bet you do.
The knee
Lederhosen?
socks.
Yeah.
With
The Lederhosen?
The Lederhosen,
With no shirt on.
That
and-
is the
know,
most
those-
uncomfortable suit I own. Just gonna be honest with you.
Hey,
Doesn't fit
answering
my
the
body
call.
shape.
Answering the call. Great show, guys.
Stay
That
safe,
concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for sponsoring the show and supporting first responders who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.